Ah, man. Coming up next, one of the best years ever for classic songs, where the worst rapper in history created the best rock song of the year. Plus, there was a gorgeous pixie with the voice of an angel who went scorched earth on a song with a vocal that blew up radio, but was never released as a single, even though it's one of the most streamed songs ever. Then there was the classic rock chorus that came from the frontman singing through a roll of toilet paper and is great. Plus the unsigned artist who gave her demo to an actor who actually snuck it into his movie. The film blew up and the song went to #1 overnight. But this artist didn't even have a record deal. Plus the indigenous chant that became the most unlikely and strangest hit of the year. And also the classic hit that was written on walkie-talkies while a band was separated on touring buses driving down the road. And the most iconic song phrase of the year that came from a singer mishearing a word in a news report. And man, it became a scorcher. It's a year of classics and great stories and interviews coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you remember that crazy animated film, The Last Unicorn, you're going to dig this channel of deep musical nostalgia. Make sure to subscribe below. I know you'll find something to dig on here. Also, check out our vintage years collection. We got 1990 in there. I think you'll like that, or 87 or 84. Well, as I say, all good things must come to an end. This is going to be our last yearly songs countdown, at least for a while. But don't worry, every Saturday I'm going to do some kind of a top 10 countdown to bring back the memories of Casey Kasem that we all love. Being the final yearly songs countdown here, this was a year where everything seemed possible. We end on a really good one. This is where many genres existed together. Maybe the last great year in rock history. Let me know below if you believe that. 1994. Kicking off our countdown is a band who said it would be a cold day in hell before they ever got back together. So when they did reunite, they named the album Hell Freezes Over. At number 12, I got Eagles with Get Over It. After more than a decade apart, the Eagles shocked the world in 1994 with a reunion fans thought would never happen. And the spark? A brand new single called Get Over It. This was the first song Don Henley and Glenn Frey co-wrote since their bitter split, and it set the tone for their improbable comeback. When Eagles launched their Hell Freezes Over tour, this was actually the opening number, a loud, unapologetic declaration that the band was back and stronger than ever. And they went straight to #1 in the middle of grunge. One of the only bands that could do that. Lyrically, Don Henley vents his frustration at a culture of blame. People who dodge responsibility for failed careers, money problems, bad choices, even personal health. And then they expect sympathy. And the song, it pulls no punches. Even quoting Shakespeare's Henry V, Part 2, "Oh, Billy was right, let's kill all the lawyers, kill them tonight." That cheeky line gave the track its theatrical edge, matching its defiant no excuses message. The comeback, though, was more than symbolic. It was a global celebration. The Hell Freezes Over tour sold out every date, and Get Over It stormed the charts. It went to #4 on the mainstream rock chart. It went to number 31 on the pop charts, and #4 in Canada. Over it. It wasn't just a new song, it was the anthem of reconciliation, a sharp-tongued reminder that after all the bitterness, the Eagles had finally found their way back to each other, and it was pretty glorious. At number 11, we have the voice of all voices. After years away from the spotlight, Journey's golden voice returned in 1994 with You Better Wait. From his second solo album, For the Love of Strange Medicine, I got Steve Perry. The song dives deep into the struggles of young dreamers chasing the city lights, a place full of promise but also traps. Steve Perry uses the city as a metaphor for temptation, warning how easy it is to lose yourself while chasing something bigger. This was written during a reflective chapter in his life, and Steve Perry admitted the song was as much a message to himself as it was to anybody else. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't rushing ahead, it's waiting. Patience isn't weakness, it's strength. That's what Steve Perry said. I love that. And with his unmistakable soaring voice, Perry turned that lesson into a powerful anthem, a reminder that in both love and life, restraint can be the truest form of passion. It's actually one of my personal favorites from his solo career. It's kind of a forgotten track from the 90s, but in addition to how impactful it was for me, It was actually the #1 single in Canada. It went to #6 on the mainstream rock chart and #17 on the adult contemporary chart. And it went to #29 on the Billboard Hot 100. And just like that, we're into the top 10. And we're going to let the light shine down with Collective Soul and frontman Ed Roland at number 10. You know, I had a great conversation with Ed about the evolution of Shine, where it came from, how his brother Dean, who was just a teenager, inadvertently came up with the song's distinctive riff. He's like, hey, that's a good riff, let's play it. And how a roll of toilet paper made this song a smash. Here's what he said.
I remember my original manager hated the He was like, take that out, and you get da 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 da. Like, I was like, there needs to be something there. So I went to the bathroom and got the toilet paper dispenser and just went, threw that into a microphone.
I love it.
And to me, it just kept it moving in my head as a producer, or whatever you want to call it. It just kept the song moving.
Well, and now, of course, when you play it live, crowd gets to chant that part.
I've never said the whole time I've ever played it.
I love it. Shine was this band's breakthrough hit, ascending to the top of the mainstream rock chart at #1, went to #4 on the alternative rock chart, #11 on the Billboard Hot 100, #8 in Australia, and #6 in Iceland and Canada. A true crossover if there ever was one. Coming in at #9, She Holds the Hand That Holds Her Down, But She Will Rise Above. Talking about the triumphant lyrics, After the Bridge and Daughter by Pearl Jam on our 12 Songs in 94 countdown.
Alone, listless.
You know, Daughter was conceived from empathy and pain, told from the perspective of a girl grappling with dyslexia, an invisible struggle that went unnoticed, especially back then. Eddie Vedder has spoken openly about the story behind it. He revealed that the song reflects the experience of a child whose learning difficulty is misunderstood by her mother. I mean, for years, these challenges, like dyslexia and many others, were dismissed as misbehavior or stubbornness, leaving many children feeling isolated and frustrated. Eddie likened it to a curse imposed by society on the ultra-creative. In Eddie's words, and I quote, "These kids weren't just reluctant to learn, they were misunderstood, and they were often punished for it." This has happened a lot over the years, like I said, especially with autism. I have a son that's autistic, and a lot of people sometimes don't understand. Before the right diagnoses, many of these children were labeled rebellious or lazy, and some faced brutal treatment because of it. The song captures the heartbreak, highlighting how ignorance and fear can lead to harm that lasts a lifetime. Eddie Vedder describes how the song ends with the image of shades drawn down, shielding the harsh reality from the outside world. This song's a quiet, haunting reminder of how shame and misunderstanding can strip away a child's dignity, defining their lives in ways that linger long after their childhood. The pain of that silence and the secrecy of the abuse hidden behind closed blinds, that's what makes Daughter resonate so deeply, shining a light on a truth too often ignored. This Pearl Jam classic that we all love was originally called Brother, not the same brother that shows up on the Lost Dogs album. But in the Pearl Jam 20 documentary by Cameron Crowe, you can see Eddie Vedder and Stone Gossard messing around with it, still calling it Brother. But since brother is also a term you might use for a friend, they decided to change it, just to change the gender to Daughter to clear up any confusion. It's a small change, but it really shifted the meaning and feeling of the song for sure. Daughter is one of Pearl Jam's highest charting singles. It made it to #4 in Ireland, #5 in Spain, #6 in the Netherlands, and #33 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was also a #1 song on the mainstream rock and alternative rock charts. Jamming in at #8 on the countdown of the top 12 in 94, I've got how the worst rapper ever created the best rock song of his time. It's Beck with Loser. Now, whoever claimed the song needed perfectly coherent lyrics to succeed clearly had not met Beck. I mean, when he sketched out Loser, he threw traditional rules out the window completely, filling the song with surreal lines like, to dog food stalls with the beefcake pantyhose and kill the headlights and put it in neutral.
Stalls with the beefcake pantyhose, kill the headlights and put it in neutral.
This breakthrough hit came from a spontaneous outburst that he shouted because he was so embarrassed by his voice. So he dissed on himself as a joke, and that diss became a mantra for a generation.
I'm a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me?
This song transformed Beck from a struggling wanderer into a sensation with his self-deprecating lyrics and his wild, erratic energy. Of course, became a defining anthem of the 90s and beyond.
Saving all your food stamps and burning down the trailer park. Yo.
So at just 18 years of age, Beck left LA for New York chasing his music dreams. But then after a year of chaos, he came back home still searching for his voice. So to kill time, he played coffee house gigs. He started tossing out ridiculous freestyle raps, half jokes that made his friends laugh, but it left the audience totally confused.
Don't believe everything that you breathe. You get a parking violation and a maggot on your...
And then in 1991, fate struck when Beck linked with producer Carl Stevenson. He'd worked with the Ghetto Boys, and during a jam session, Beck mocked his own awful rapping. He said, "I'm the worst rapper in the world. I'm just a loser." That offhand line became the hook that changed everything. What started out as a joke between friends became the anthem of the slacker generation. The world could not get enough of Loser. It went to number 1 in Norway, and then went to number 2 in Iceland, number 7 in Canada, number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it ruled the modern rock chart for 5 straight weeks at the top spot. Our countdown of the top 12 songs in 1994 continues with the beautiful Lisa Loeb and her song Stay at number 7. Lisa is the singer-songwriter that many Gen Xers had a crush on, including me. She was in a duo at first, then they broke up. She actually played music for 10 years and sold indie cassettes out of the back of her car, but she never caught a break until she met an up-and-coming actor named Ethan Hawke. He lived in her apartment building. He caught a show, and he gave a cassette of one of her songs to a director for consideration for the movie that he was making. That movie, the 1994 film Reality Bites, became a hit. The song was snuck into the movie and basically went to number 1 when she didn't even have a record deal.
You said that I was naive, and I thought that I was strong.
It made her the first ever to do that. I sat down with Lisa before she performed at a concert in California. Here's what she shared about it.
I met Ethan through my friend Josh Hamilton, who's also an actor. Ethan did start a theater company along the way, and I wrote instrumental music for some of his plays. Because we lived across the street, it was really fun. It was like we were kids. He's like, "Hey, come on down." Although I was like up on the 19th floor. He was a big support as well. You know, he plays in a band in the movie Reality Bites. And so he asked me to try to write a song for his band. And it was a typical music supervisor situation where they asked a number of people to write a song called I'm Nothing for his band to play in the movie. And I wrote a song, Gordon Gano from Violent Femmes wrote a song, I think Soul Asylum wrote a song, and they picked the Soul Asylum version. And then Ethan asked if I would give him a copy of my song Stay, because he really liked it. And then they ended up putting the song in the movie.
Stay.
At the time, I was definitely in a place where I thought it's important to just write from my own perspective. And it did end up connecting a lot. And I think that's always a good place for a writer to start.
You say I only hear what I want to.
I'm just definitely, writing more from the perspective of a neurotic person, like a Woody Allen conversation inside of his head. When I write songs, it's from all those different facets that are going on in your head. It's not I bumped my toe and I'm mad. It's like all those things. That's how you really go through things. You can be on the top of the world in 1 minute, and the next minute you could be down in a hole. And then you can convince yourself, no, I think everything's okay. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm not looking at this the right way.
Anywhere I don't understand. If you really care, I'm only hearing negative.
Lisa Loeb's Stay, I Missed You moved to number 6 in the UK and Australia and reached the number 1 position in Canada and on the Billboard Hot 100. Coming in at number 6 on the top 12 in 94, I've got The Boss with Streets of Philadelphia.
I was bruised and battered, I couldn't tell what I felt.
Now, Streets of Philadelphia is really a special song that has a very interesting journey to it. Acclaimed director Jonathan Demme needed the perfect opening song for a movie he was doing in '93 called Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. How many lawyers you go to before you call me?
9.
The movie, of course, about a successful lawyer played by Tom Hanks, who's fired from his firm after his employers discover he has AIDS. And with the help of a reluctant attorney, Denzel Washington, he takes him to court in a groundbreaking case of discrimination and justice. Demme needed a song to define the film, so he reached out to Bruce Springsteen, someone he hadn't spoken to in years. He asked for a rock anthem for this, but instead Bruce sent him an unfinished demo born from grief over losing a close friend. It was a very raw and stripped down production, very different than what Demme had first envisioned for the film.
The avenue to my legs felt like stone.
But it was haunting, and it was fragile, and it was truly human, real. Funny enough, it was just a demo, but it carried the weight needed to set the tone for the very first frame of the film. And the impact was massive. The film and the song helped raise AIDS awareness and break down stigmas at a time when the disease was very misunderstood. In 1995, Springsteen's ballad swept the Grammys, Song of the Year, Best Rock Song, Best Male Vocal, and Best Song Written for a Film. It also got the Oscar for Best Original Song.
Goes to Bruce Springsteen for Streets of Philadelphia from Philadelphia.
Chart-wise, it soared to number 9 on the Hot 100 in the US, number 2 in the UK, and it was the number 1 single across Europe. For the boss, it wasn't just a hit. It was one of the most important songs of his career, and he was glad that the song that he wrote for a dear friend had done so well.
Alone like this on the streets of Philadelphia.
Rolling along with a countdown, the top 12 in '94, we have the ethereal classic Return to Innocence by the mysterious Enigma at number 5. When's the last time you listened to Return to Innocence by Enigma? I'm just wondering how the song hits you now. I listened to it the other day and haven't for a long time. Still very mesmerizing to me. All right, so here's the story. In 1988, a Taiwanese farmer from the Amish tribe called Dafong Duana and his wife Ige Duana, they were invited to a cultural exchange in Paris along with 30 other Aboriginal Taiwanese musicians. Now, the French National Education Ministry, they actually released an unauthorized compilation of Taiwanese Aboriginal songs, and Dafong and Ige's rendition of the Amish traditional tune called Elders Drinking Song was included on that release without their permission. Romanian-German musician and producer Michael Kretzu, who founded the band Enigma, sampled Dafong and Ige, and then he used that as the foundation for Return to Innocence. Now, to be fair, Michael thought it was in the public domain. He did receive permission from the French National Education Ministry, but the performers were listed as anonymous, and they used it without their authorization. Enigma released Return to Innocence, and that haunting chant caught the attention of the world, went to number 1 in 10 different countries, and it was used in the promos for the '96 Olympics. Get this, Dafong and his wife Ige didn't hear their own song until it was used on the Olympics, and they're like, hey, that's our voice. Those are our voices. So, of course, they brought a lawsuit. They ended up settling it because they used their voice without permission. And thanks to that settlement, the 2 Taiwanese singers received recognition as well as royalties from the song. And then in 1998, Dafong and Ige released a new version of Elders Drinking Song along with other tracks under the artist name Dafong called Circle of Life. And of course, this case, it became one of the most famous to set the standard on how samples could be used going forward. Now, the rhythmic drum pattern permeating throughout the song, in Return to Innocence, that's actually sampled from Led Zeppelin's song When the Levee Breaks. That's Bon. That's not the way things are, repeated in the chorus. That's actually a philosophical statement inspired by Tibetan teachings that added a layer of spiritual depth to a dance track. Very cool. Saturated with superficiality, Return to Innocence stands as a reminder that true beauty and truth often come from the simplest, most genuine sources, really voices that have been singing their stories long before modern music was born. Truly a testament to the power of cultural exchange, the importance of respecting origins, and the universal longing for a pure, unfiltered connection to our roots. National smash, like I said, it went to number 1 in 10 countries. including Norway, Ireland, Zimbabwe, Sweden. It also went top 5 in Germany, number 4 in Canada, and it also went to number 4 here on the Billboard Hot 100, the first chant really to do that. Love this top 4. The countdown of 94 continues. It keeps on trucking with Interstate Love Song by STP Stone Temple Pilots at number 4. You know, the late Scott Weiland recalled that he and the other 3 members of STP often traveled together in a Winnebago with a trailer carrying their equipment behind them. And then when the chaos of touring got to be too much and they needed some peace, they'd retreat into that trailer and they would pass time with walkie-talkies to communicate with those up front, with those out back. One day, Robert DeLeo was back there with his guitar and he was tinkering with a melody. And he knew he had something great. Without hesitation, he used the walkie-talkie to call out to the rest of the band and play the music for them. So they wrote a classic rock hit on a walkie-talkie. I just love it. Now, Scott crafted the lyrics for Interstate Love Song during a turbulent period in his life. He was grappling simultaneously with relationship struggles and a growing drug addiction. Sadly, it seemed as though Scott was always struggling with his demons right up to the very end. Now, as he sat down and he was, finishing up the lyrics, Scott's mind kept returning to Janina Castaneda, who was his fiancée. He was always riding from the road in a different state while Janina was back home in California. He remembered the promises that he had made to her that he would stay clean. When they traveled to Atlanta to record Purple, Stone Temple Pilots' second album, he made this promise. But those promises faded as his addictions just took hold and overtook him. Despite telling Janina over the phone that everything was fine, he was painfully aware that he was hiding the truth from her. He was becoming someone that he didn't even recognize. What makes Interstate Love Song so compelling, though, is its perspective on this. Weiland imagined Janina's view, seeing through the lies, sensing the disconnect, knowing that beneath the surface things were far from okay. It's truly a raw, honest reflection of the tension between what we say and what we really feel, and how sometimes the truth is impossible to hide, even from those we love the most. It's brutal. But STP bassist Robert DeLeo composed the music for Interstate Love Song. He confided that he originally wrote it with a bossa nova groove. That's pretty cool. The single went to number 2 in Iceland and number 20 in Canada. In America, it went to number 2 on the Alternative Rock Tracks chart and all the way to number 1 on the Mainstream Rock chart. The track at number 3 in our top 12 of 94 countdown features one of the most unique lead vocals of the rock era. It's the powerful protest song Zombie from the Cranberries. It's hard to understand why a song that was a hit all over the world was not released in the US. Zombie was never released in America as a single. The most streamed song in 1994, and they didn't release it as a single. It's crazy. Even crazier, though, is it may have stopped a centuries-old conflict by bringing so much focus to it. It was sung by a beautiful angel whose gorgeous voice went scorched earth on this one. It's a hardcore rock song from her perspective. She wrote a song with so much righteous anger that it's one of the most pissed-off performances of the rock era. Responding to a tragic bombing that took the lives of 2 innocent children, Jonathan Ball and Tim Perry, there were innocent victims caught in the violence. And, this ethereal frontwoman powered up her dreamy folk sound, and she unleashed a series of siren screams that nobody knew she had this in her at the time. What's particularly striking here is how the song's raw energy and haunting lyrics serve as a protest against a cycle of violence that's devastated communities on both sides. Zombie firmly asserts that the death of innocent children is just an unforgivable tragedy. But, in addressing the subject, such a sensitive subject, it inevitably sparked controversy. Dolores O'Riordan expected that much. She once explained, and I quote, "I knew that would be the angle of the song because it was bound to ruffle feathers." Now, despite anticipating the backlash, she admitted to being surprised by how widely the song resonated with people. She said, I didn't realize it would become so successful. Clearly, she was humbled by the impact it had all her life. So Dolores' distinctive yodeling style in the chorus of Zombie, that was shaped, of course, by her Irish roots and upbringing. She drew inspiration from her father's fondness for American country music, actually, and also from the traditional Irish singing technique known as keening. It's often used in funeral rites to express very deep emotion. And man, did she express that here. Oh, man. And even though it wasn't released as a single, promotional copies were sent to radio stations, and MTV played the music video extensively, which is why it's the most streamed song of the year. It gave the song significant exposure, and it helped, no need to argue, sell more than 7 million copies in this country. Because it wasn't marketed as a single, though, Zombie wasn't eligible for the Billboard Hot 100 chart. It did reach number 22 on the airplay charts, so, it was played a lot on radio, but like I said, streamed billions of times since. Dolores O'Riordan tragically died on January 15th, 2018. That's actually the same day she was scheduled to record guest vocals for the Bad Wolves cover of Zombie. Her sudden passing at the age of just 46 shocked fans and the music world alike. It was later revealed that her death was due to accidental drowning caused by alcohol intoxication. So very sad. It's time for the bridesmaid position. Our runner-up on the top 12 of 94 countdown is Soundgarden with Black Hole Sun.
In my eyes, indisposed.
In a 2014 interview with Entertainment Weekly, Chris Cornell shared the story behind the haunting title of Black Hole Sun, and this is really cool. So he explained that it all started with a moment of mishearing a word. One day he was watching the news and he thought he heard the news anchor say, Black Hole Sun. It's a phrase that immediately sparked his imagination. Now, it turns out the anchor was actually saying something else entirely. But Chris was captivated by this phrase's mysterious evocative quality, and he immediately wrote it down.
Black hole sun, won't you come?
He was so intrigued by the phrase that he decided to craft a song around an image that came to him with that title. He didn't start with the music. Instead, he just wrote the lyrics. The vivid, surreal images in his mind shaped the words, creating a sense of darkness and longing that felt both universal and deeply personal to him. Only after he had those lyrics did he sit down to compose the music, allowing the haunting melodies to mirror those powerful visuals that he had imagined. Actually, Chris Cornell formulated the idea for Black Hole Sun to be a song while driving home from Bear Creek Studio near Seattle. This is where Soundgarden was recording a version of New Damage for a charity album. Chris described how he spent hours spinning those melodies in his mind, trying to hold on to them before they'd slip away. He said, and I quote, I'd whistle them into a dictaphone when I got home, and he'd just keep whistling them over and over so he wouldn't forget them. Next, he took those fragments and crafted them into something more tangible, adding key changes to make the melodies more compelling. And then, inspired by the emotional weight of the chorus and the title, he wrote the lyrics almost as a stream of consciousness, letting the feelings guide him throughout. Chris also disclosed that he loved the visual impact of the words Black Hole Sun themselves. He said, I like the way they look written down. It's like Syd Barrett era Pink Floyd. There's a cheerful veneer over something darker underneath. It's not something I try to do. I try to do it consciously, but sometimes it just happens by accident. Black Hole Sun is another example of how an artist hears an expression, or maybe something spoken in passing and thinks to themselves, that would make a really cool title. In this case, he totally misheard the words altogether. Get this though, he initially thought Black Hole Sun would make a great third or fourth single. He didn't think it was anything special. And of course, it became his biggest hit. It hit number 1 in Australia, in Iceland, on the mainstream rock chart. It also hit number 2 on alternative rock. It crossed over to pop, hitting number 24, and also hit number 3 in Mexico. So as I was on the verge of finishing our countdown of the top 12 songs of 94, I realized by sheer coincidence, the top 4 songs were all written by artists that are now deceased, and they're not with us. Scott Weiland wrote the number 4 song. Of course, Dolores O'Riordan wrote the number 3 song. Chris Cornell wrote the song we named as second best. And our pick for the number 1 song of 94, Mary Jane's Last Dance, that was written by the late Tom Petty.
Last Dance with Mary Jane.
Mary Jane's Last Dance, truly one of the coolest tracks by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. It was a bit of a mystery, which seemed to be what Tom wanted when he wrote this song. Now, Tom never clearly said what the song was about. And there are 2 common interpretations, though. Could be about Petty's divorce from his wife Jane, which happened a year before this was recorded. And Mary Jane, you know. Another possibility, this is about marijuana, right? Mary Jane's a slang for pot, and the lyrics refer to killing the pain with the drug that is known for that.
One more time to kill the pain.
All in all, I spoke with Tom's trusty lead guitarist and collaborator and producer about the song, Mike Campbell. Here's what he told me.
It was on a greatest hits record, and they wanted a new song. And typically when a band does that, they just throw some crap together and but we wanted something good, you know, and Rick Rubin was working on that with us. And so Tom came in with this great song, and it turned out to be as good as the hits. It became a hit too, you know.
Yeah.
How lucky are we once again?
Oh my, oh hell yes, you got to put on that party dress.
Well, it's called Indiana Girl at first, right?
It was, yeah. Hey, Indiana girl, let's go out and find the world. But he had the good sense of mind to make it deeper.
I don't know, but I've been told you never slow down, you never grow old.
Tom was like that. You know, he'd bring a song in, and then a week later he'd come in, oh no, I fixed all those bits that weren't right. And you'll have better lyrics.
And like I said, to the death, Petty never revealed what or who Mary Jane was or what it was about. Then there was the creepy music video starring Kim Basinger as a corpse who Petty romances and dances with.
Dance with Mary Jane, one more time to kill the pain.
It was one of MTV's most controversial clips at the time, and Kim Basinger said it was the coolest thing she ever did, and she had a pretty long career, Oscar winning.
The Oscar goes to Kim Basinger, LA Confidential.
Some called it morbid, others called it art, but everyone talked about this music video, cementing the song's eerie reputation. The track marked the first time Petty reunited with his longtime band, the Heartbreakers, after a solo run. After Tom Petty's passing in 2017, though, it became a haunting send-off and a last dance for the rocker himself. Fans embraced it as both prophetic and bittersweet. The song was a number 2 smash in Portugal. In Iceland, it reached number 7, and it peaked at number 5 in Canada. Went to number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100, but it dominated the mainstream rock scene, perched on top of that chart for 11 weeks straight. 11 weeks at number 1. So there you have it, our top 12 of 1994, kinged by Tom Petty, who is one of the greats. What do you think about these songs? What's your top 12 of 94? I don't think we can continue on to 95 and 96. I feel like music fell off a lot, mainstream music at least. I don't know, maybe should we do the top songs of each year? Forget about the chart position. What were the top songs of each year? Just the greatest songs of each year. And then you can include people that never made the charts or songs that didn't. I don't know, it's an idea. I think it'd be kind of fun because there's a lot of times where I want to include a song and it didn't hit the top 40, and that was kind of the criteria of this countdown. But let's have a great discussion below. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Till next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.